The diner was quiet that morning, too quiet. The kind of silence where even the sound of a spoon tapping a coffee cup seemed intrusive. The smell of bacon and brewed coffee hung in the air, sunlight spilling through the big front windows, bouncing off the silver edges of the tables. At the corner booth sat Walter Branson, an 81-year-old Korean War veteran who came every morning like clockwork, 8:15 a.m. sharp, same seat, same black coffee, same gentle smile for the waitress. His flannel shirt was worn thin at the elbows, and his boots carried decades of stories. His hands trembled slightly as he lifted his cup, but his eyes, deep, steady, and unyielding, spoke of battles fought long ago. No one expected the peace of that morning to break. But it did. A young man, tall, broad, and angry at the world, slammed his fist on the counter. He was arguing over his bill, cursing the waitress, puffing his chest like he owned the place. Then, his glare shifted, landing on Walter, who was quietly watching, calm but firm. That single look, from a man who had seen real war, ignited the thug's fragile pride. In a burst of rage, he stormed across the diner and struck Walter across the face. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Coffee cups rattled. Customers froze. And Walter, the man who once faced enemy fire, just sat there, shocked not by the pain, but by the cruelty. The diner fell silent. But what happened next, no one could have seen coming. Walter didn't fight back. His cheek burned red, his hands slowly rising to touch it. The waitress gasped, trembling as she begged the man to leave. Other customers looked away, uncomfortable, cowardly even, their silence louder than the slap itself. Walter had lived through worse. He had seen young men die in muddy trenches, had carried brothers through smoke and blood. This was just another battle, but one that hurt deeper than any bullet wound. He wasn't angry. He was heartbroken. Not for himself, but for the world that had lost its respect, for elders, for service, for kindness. The thug sneered, muttered something under his breath, and strutted back to his table near the counter, laughing with his friend. The sound grated against the silence that lingered. Minutes passed. Then half an hour. Walter stayed seated, staring into his now cold coffee. His reflection shimmered faintly on the dark surface, an old man surrounded by indifference. But fate wasn't done writing his story. The diner's bell jingled, and in walked 6 men, leather vests, tattoos winding down strong arms, boots that thudded against the tile floor. Their presence shifted the air instantly. The chatter died. Eyes followed them. They weren't troublemakers. But they were unmistakably bikers, confident, powerful, and carrying an aura of control. The patch on their backs read, Iron Vows MC. At their center walked a man taller than the rest, broad shoulders, a streak of gray in his beard, and eyes sharp as steel. He scanned the room, until his gaze landed on Walter, and then his steps slowed. "Dad?" the man said softly. The room turned. The waitress froze. Walter blinked, disbelief spreading across his face. "Thomas?" he whispered. The biker leader, Thomas Branson, walked to the corner booth. Years of distance melted away in an instant. He hadn't seen his father in nearly a decade. Life had taken him down a hard road, gangs, fights, lost nights. But he built something of his own, a brotherhood bound by loyalty. Thomas sat across from his father, gently taking his hand. "You okay, Dad?" Walter managed a tired smile. "I've had worse mornings." Thomas's eyes drifted to the bruise on his father's cheek. His jaw tightened. His men noticed too, each one standing a little straighter, the air growing heavy with unspoken tension. Thomas looked around, his voice low and cold. "Who did this?" The thug near the counter laughed. "What, you his bodyguard or something?" he sneered. "Old man should mind his business." Thomas didn't rise. He didn't shout. He just looked at him, that quiet, dangerous kind of calm that made your stomach twist. The other bikers turned toward the man, their silence more intimidating than any threat. Thomas stood slowly. Each step toward the thug echoed through the diner like a drumbeat. He stopped just a few feet away. "That man you hit," Thomas said, his voice steady, "is my father." The color drained from the thug's face. He's an 81-year-old veteran who gave this country more than you could ever dream of. You thought it made you tough to slap him? The thug's smirk faded. His confidence cracked. The other customers were watching now, everyone silent, waiting. Thomas didn't raise his hand. He didn't need to. His words hit harder than any punch. You don't lay hands on a man like that. Not today. Not ever. The biker crew stood behind him like sentinels, not violent, just unwavering. The air was thick with judgment, shame, and a strange kind of justice. The thug stumbled back, muttering something about leaving. No one stopped him. The diner door swung open, and he disappeared into the daylight. Silence again. But this time, it felt different, peaceful. The waitress came forward with shaking hands and set 2 fresh cups of coffee on the table. On the house, she whispered. For both of you. Walter looked at his son, eyes glassy with pride. You didn't hurt him, he said quietly. Thomas smiled faintly. You taught me better than that. Walter chuckled softly, the tension melting from his face. Didn't always seem like it when you were 16. Thomas laughed, a real laugh, deep and warm. The years of distance between them seemed to dissolve right there over steaming coffee and quiet understanding. Other customers began to speak up, small words of apology and respect. I'm sorry, sir. You didn't deserve that. Thank you for your service. Walter nodded humbly. He wasn't one for speeches. But this moment, meant more than medals or parades. He looked at his son again. You know, Thomas, I fought a lot of battles long ago. But the hardest one was keeping family close. Thomas's eyes softened. Guess we both fought the same war, Dad. From that day on, the diner changed. Walter's corner booth became a symbol of quiet strength. The bikers returned often, not to intimidate, but to protect. They treated Walter like royalty, always pulling out his chair, always greeting him with respect. Locals began to see the old man differently, not just as a lonely veteran, but as a hero who inspired unity. Even the waitress hung a small sign above his booth. Reserved for Mr. Branson, the man who reminds us what respect means. And Walter? He never missed a morning. But now, he never drank his coffee alone. Speech alone. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner Red Heart, because stories like these remind us, Thought Balloon kindness isn't weakness. Thought Balloon respect isn't optional. Thought Balloon and family, no matter how far apart, can always find its way back. So tell me in the comments. Do you believe kindness can heal broken families? Your words might inspire someone who needs hope today.